Hi, I'm Liliana Vasquez, and today I will be talking about the evolutionary change. The evolutionary change is the change in the gene pool of a population from generation to generation by such process as mutation, natural selection, gene flow, non-random, and genetic drift. To start off with, there's mutation, and mutations are changes in the DNA sequence. These sequence changes are sudden and spontaneous and vary in the cell. The changes in the genotype at times may lead to the changes in the organism's physical traits. If the mutated phenotype is favorable, the organism will survive and be able to reproduce. Mutations are sometimes very lethal to the cell they are found in and will not be advantageous to the organism. If the DNA is mutated, it may be corrected by the cell or it is killed. Mutations are detected by a DNA proofreading system, and most mutations are silent changes in the DNA sequence and have no effect on the organism or cell, and those are called silent mutations. The second one is gene flow. It is the transfer of the alleles from one population to another. It is also known as migration. This is because certain animals are able to travel for long periods of time from the destinations. This causes reproduction with members of different populations. Plants are capable of this due to the wind, and bees as well. They transfer their pollen, and that's how each flower gets the transfer and the migration. Other examples are the mixture of races in our world today due to war and exploration. So that happens like whenever we get sent over for war, and people from Spain mix with people from Africa, for example, such as that. The next one is non-random, which are mates are chosen on base and phenotype to ensure that a good set of gene is passed on to the next generation. Non-random mating implies that not all members of a population have an equal chance to leave offspring or mate. So that's really, it's just not what they're trying to do, it just happens. The next is the genetic drift. The genetic drift is the frequency change in an allele of population. This change is entirely based on chance. These changes may occur because of some members of the population leave more offspring, not because of the species is more well adapted, but because of chance. Environmental events also may be the cause of members of population carrying certain allele to be wiped out. Natural disasters usually cause the rare allele in a population to become more common. This works most effectively in small populations. Next is natural selection. This is the process by which favorable traits become more common in successive generations and unfavorable traits become less common. Organisms with unfavorable traits leave less organisms or die off, while those with the favorable traits survive and leave more offspring, also known as survival of the fittest. And then there's also some differences between disruptive selection, directional selection, and stabilizing selection. For instance, in disruptive selection, it is a type of natural selection that selects against the average individual in a population. The makeup of this type of population would show phenotypes or individuals with groups of traits of both extremes but have very few individuals in the middle. For directional selection, it is a mode of natural selection in which an extreme phenotype is favored over the other phenotypes, causing the allele frequency to shift over time in the direction of that phenotype. And then last is stabilizing selection, which is any selective force or forces which push a population toward the average or medium trait.